Tom's Year in the Wild, an adventure tale, a story of courage, family, and discovery in 1850. Introduction: The Hearth of Home. In the summer of 1850, the sun rose warm and golden over the small village of Fern Hollow, nestled between rolling hills and a vast, whispering forest. The village was simple, dotted with cozy cottages, fields of waving wheat, and the cheerful sounds of morning chores. Among the gentle folk of Fern Hollow lived the Carter family, a loving trio whose lives were woven together with laughter and kindness. Tom, just turned 14, was the heart of the family. With bright eyes full of wonder and a mop of unruly brown hair, Tom was both a dreamer and a doer. His father, Joseph Carter, was a sturdy man with calloused hands and a gentle voice, while his mother, Mary Carter, was known in the village for her warm smile, quick wit, and the best apple pies for miles around. Their home was always filled with warmth, of the hearth, of gentle words, and of love. Yet, despite the comfort of his family and the beauty of Fern Hollow, Tom often found himself gazing out the window, his mind running wild with thoughts of unexplored lands, mysterious woods, and the promise of adventure. Sometimes Tom would wander to the edge of the forest, peering into the shadows between the trees, his heart dancing with curiosity and longing. His parents saw this restlessness. "Tom, you have a wild heart," Joseph would say, ruffling his son's hair. "But remember, adventure is not only found in distant lands. Sometimes the greatest adventures are right here at home." Mary, ever watchful, would shake her head with a gentle smile. "Let the boy dream, Joseph. Just don't let him wander too far." But to Tom, the world beyond their village called louder every day. Chapter 2: The Decision to Depart. One warm evening, under a sky blazing with stars, Tom lay in the grass outside his window. The air carried the scent of wildflowers and distant pines. He listened to the chirping of crickets and the gentle hum of the world settling down for the night. "I want to see what's out there," he whispered to himself. "I want to have a real adventure." The next morning, with a heart full of determination, Tom packed a small satchel. He tucked in a loaf of bread, a bit of cheese, a flask of water, his favorite knife, and the red handkerchief Mary had sewn for him. Quietly, he scribbled a note for his parents, promising to return soon and telling them not to worry, a promise written with far more confidence than he felt. Before dawn, Tom slipped out the door, excitement and nerves sparking in his veins. The familiar path faded as the trees grew thick around him, swallowing him into the green unknown. Chapter 3: Into the Forest. The first light of day filtered through the leaves, painting the world in shifting greens and golds. Tom's heart thumped with excitement as he marched deeper into the woods. Every bird call, every rustle in the underbrush felt magical. He found a bubbling creek and followed it, stopping to watch frogs leap among the reeds. He imagined himself a great explorer, mapping uncharted lands. He scrambled over fallen logs, climbed rocks, and filled his pockets with smooth stones and feathers. Hunger was a distant thought, and loneliness even further away. As the sun climbed high, Tom stopped to eat his bread and cheese. He drank cool water from the creek and stretched out in a patch of clover, feeling utterly free. But as afternoon turned to evening, shadows grew longer, and the woods grew quiet and strange. Tom realized he had wandered far, too far to see the edge of the forest or hear the sounds of Fern Hollow. Chapter 4: The First Night Alone. Dusk crept in, and with it a shiver of fear. Tom tried to retrace his steps, but every path looked the same in the deepening gloom. The forest, which had seemed so enchanting in the morning, now felt vast and mysterious. He found a sheltered spot under a large oak tree, gathering leaves and moss for a makeshift bed. The night was filled with unfamiliar noises: a distant owl, the crackle of small creatures in the brush, the sighing wind through the branches. Tom hugged himself for warmth, feeling for the first time a twinge of regret. He remembered his father's words about adventure and his mother's gentle touch. "I'll find my way tomorrow," Tom whispered, more hopeful than he felt. Chapter 5. Realization and Resolve. When morning broke, cool and dewy, Tom awoke stiff and hungry. The forest, bathed in sunlight, felt less menacing but more confusing than ever. Every tree looked alike, and there were no familiar landmarks. He climbed a small hill, hoping to spot the village or a plume of smoke, but saw only endless trees. Panic fluttered in his chest, but he forced it down. "I'm not lost," he told himself. "I just need to keep looking." Tom spent the day searching for a way out, calling for help, but his voice was swallowed by the forest. As hunger gnawed at him, he remembered lessons from his father: how to look for edible plants, how to fish with a sharpened stick, how to start a fire with flint and dry leaves. That night, Tom made a small fire, huddled close for warmth and comfort. He stared into the flames, determined to survive. Chapter 6. Surviving the Wild. As days turned to weeks, Tom learned the rhythm of the woods. He found wild berries and nuts, fished in the creek, and used his knife to carve tools and traps. He built a shelter with branches and leaves, growing more resourceful with each passing day. Rainy days were hard. He shivered under his shelter, longing for a warm hearth and his mother's stew. But on sunny days, Tom explored, learned to read animal tracks, and fashioned a slingshot to scare away curious raccoons. He grew lean and strong. He learned to listen to the calls of birds warning of approaching storms, to the rustling of deer in the undergrowth, to the quiet wisdom of the forest. Chapter 7. Encounters and Wonders. Tom's world expanded in unexpected ways. He saw a family of foxes playing at dawn and watched a stag drinking from a hidden pond. He marveled at the flight of eagles overhead and the busy work of squirrels gathering acorns. Once he woke to find a doe and fawn sleeping not far from his shelter. He stayed very still, awed by their gentle presence. The forest, though dangerous, was also full of beauty and wonder. Yet Tom never let his guard down. He built his shelter higher when he found bear tracks nearby, and kept his food hoisted in a tree to outsmart clever animals. Each day brought new challenges and lessons. Chapter 8. Changing Seasons. Summer faded into autumn. The leaves turned fiery red and gold, carpeting the forest floor. Tom gathered nuts and dried berries, preparing for colder days. He sewed together a blanket of leaves and animal hides for warmth. As temperatures dropped, Tom learned to build better fires and insulate his shelter with moss and mud. He watched the animals grow fatter, preparing for winter, and followed their example. Winter brought snow and biting winds. Tom shivered, sometimes going hungry. But he remembered his mother's words: "Hope is the fire that keeps us warm inside." He clung to hope, even when his world felt cold and white. In spring, the forest burst back to life. Flowers bloomed, and Tom's world grew green and warm again. He welcomed the return of bird song and sunshine, his spirit renewed. Chapter 9. Loneliness and Growth. The hardest part was not hunger or cold, but loneliness. Sometimes Tom would talk to himself or carve little figures from wood for company. He remembered his parents, his mother's laughter, his father's stories around the fire. He missed them deeply. But Tom also grew in ways he never expected. He learned patience, bravery, and the importance of small victories: catching a fish, mending his shelter, surviving another storm. He found strength in himself and hope in the beauty around him. He kept a tally of days with stones in a hollow tree, watching the seasons pass. He was determined, always, to find his way home. Chapter 10. Memories from Home. On quiet nights, Tom would gaze at the stars, remembering the stories his father told him. He pictured his mother's warm kitchen, the taste of apple pie, and the gentle music of their laughter. He recalled their lessons: how to be kind, how to be honest, how to believe in himself. These memories were his guiding light, helping him through the darkest times. Chapter 11. Tom's parents' search. Back in Fern Hollow, Joseph and Mary Carter never stopped hoping. When they found Tom's note, their hearts broke, but they understood his longing for adventure. They searched the woods day after day, calling his name, leaving signs and markings, asking neighbors for help. Their love was unwavering, their hope as steady as the river. They believed Tom was alive, that he would find his way home, or that they would find him. The village came together, searching the woods every season, never giving up. Chapter 12. A Year in the Wild. Tom's life in the woods followed the seasons: hot summers, golden autumns, cold winters, and blooming springs. Each month taught him something new. He became a part of the forest, learning its secrets and rhythms. He faced storms and sickness, learned to heal small hurts with herbs, and always kept his hope alive. He left signs for searchers, stacked stones, bits of cloth, marks in the bark of trees, hoping someone would find them. One bright morning, as the forest blushed with spring, Tom followed a trail of boot prints and broken branches, signs of people, not animals. His heart pounded with hope and fear. Chapter 13. The Climax, Discovery and Rescue. Voices echoed through the trees, familiar voices. "Tom, Tom," they called, trembling with hope. Tom's heart leaped. He ran toward the sound, stumbling and shouting, "I'm here! I'm here!" Through the trees burst his parents, older, thinner, but eyes shining with love and relief. Tom ran into their arms, tears streaming down his face as his mother hugged him fiercely and his father held him close. They laughed and cried together, the forest ringing with joy. "We never stopped looking," Joseph whispered. "We never lost hope," said Mary, kissing Tom's forehead. Chapter 14. The Journey Home. With their arms around him, Tom returned to Fern Hollow, the village greeting him with cheers and happy tears. Neighbors marveled at his story, and his bravery became a legend. Tom was thinner, taller, and wiser. He had seen beauty and danger, known hunger and hope, and never given up. He was a hero not just for surviving, but for growing, inside and out. Conclusion. Lessons learned. Back at home, Tom found new adventure in everyday life. He worked alongside his father, shared stories with his mother, and always remembered the lessons the forest taught him: patience, courage, and the importance of hope. He knew now that true adventure was not just in the wild, but in the love and warmth of family. And as the sun set over Fern Hollow, Tom gazed out at the world with wonder, ready for whatever life would bring, knowing he would never face it alone. And so, the boy with the wild heart grew into a young man full of wisdom, joy, and the promise of many more adventures to come.